Good day, and welcome to Far Reaches Extra, or FRX as we call it. FRX is a chance for the gang to reach a little deeper with a one-on-one interview and discover people and topics that make this world worth living in. We hope you enjoy this random journey, and feel free to send in your suggestions or even call us out to be on the next episode of Far Reaches Extra. Hey, how you mom doing? Welcome to Far Reaches Extra. That's right, it's the one-on-one series we do from the regular Far Reaches. We try to get a little more in-depth. We have special guests. We have people that you might not know already or heard about before. And it's really our chance to get some one-on-one conversation with people who are involved more directly in the world of agriculture and try to get that word spread. That is one of the founding principles, I suppose you would say, of Far Reaches, is try to get people to understand what ag's all about and who we are. And so joining me today on this very special edition is Miss Emilee Haubner from the beautiful state of Texas. Emilee, how you doing?
I'm doing good. And let me make a quick correction. It's Emilee Haubner, but you're
Haubner. Good. Dang it. I went all this time. Yeah, that's too funny. That's classic Micah. Yeah, just rolling over the details. Yeah. So.
But I'm good. Thank you for having me on this evening. And I'm excited to get this ball rolling.
Outstanding. Well, unlike some of my guests I've had in the past, I've known for a long time and had many crazy experiences with. Luckily for you, this is really the first time we're meeting face to face, and we had a mutual friend, Miss Stacy Jill, kind of recommend we get together and start talking, and it was just amazing conversation. We had a brief phone call and thought, heck yeah, we've got to get Emilee on Far Reaches so she could talk about it. And what really shone through in the first time we spoke was just your tremendous passion for agriculture and bringing sort of both worlds together and helping people really get a grasp on all that goes into that world. And so that's really what I wanted to help focus on this episode, at least. And we'll probably have you back for more if you're crazy enough to do it again. But just to get an overview of all the things you're involved in and talk about where you're at, what you're doing, and really dig in a bit into your philosophy as well, just about your beliefs about agriculture and how it's gotten to where it is today. So, with all that being said, let's get a bit more interest in kind of some background on you and what gets you up every day.
Well, I definitely would say that what gets me up every day is obviously my animals. They first come in the morning and they get fed before I eat, but that's part of something that's been a part of my life since I was little. I was born and raised on a farm, a family farm, and so grew up with crops, grew up with a hay production operation. We had cattle and pigs and chickens, and I think maybe some goats therein for a little while. So just basically what all the livestock you would find on a farm, and got to grow up next to my grandparents' farm. And so growing up with a grandfather and a dad as a farmer really kind of just started my roots and my passion for agriculture. And I didn't realize until later on in life that those tractor rides behind the seat of the tractor with dad plowing the field and falling asleep, or the rides in the combine, would start something that, was never ending in a good way. Mm-hmm. And it has stayed with me forever. And the learning to love and care for animals from a young age through 4-H and FFA, and being able to work to help pay for them and pay, for a vehicle. And I really grew as a person. I was taught different ethics, different character building skills. And I really would say skills that you can't get anywhere else other than growing up on a ranch or farm or in the country. And so knowing that's something that I love, I went through high school and FFA and stayed involved with working for different people in ranching and farming, and then went to school to get a degree in animal science and meat science at Texas A&M. And that kind of was a dream. I wanted to go to a really good ag school so that I could have a good future and be successful in the field of agriculture. And so I graduated and went on to do some internships and worked. I really wasn't worried about getting a job at that time. I wanted to just get my hands in different aspects of the agriculture industry. So I'd already dealt with pigs and sheep a little bit, goats, chickens, cattle, kind of the hay and crop side of it, but I'd never done in the horse side of it, but I hadn't had the feed yard side of it, or
Mm.
like the animal health side of it, and learning how to kind of diagnose what is wrong with a cow. So I worked in a feedlot for almost a year, two different feedlots, just learning about basic signs of sickness and then how to treat that. And
Mm.
then worked for a few ranches and did some internships. Worked for the LBJ National Park here in Texas, and just kind of got my feet wet in different areas and just meeting different people, because that's really what ag industry is about. It's connecting yourself with so many people, because you never know when you're going to need somebody that you meet. And
Some kind
I
of
know
expert that you picked up along the way. Yeah.
yes, and I know that's kind of a short overview, but that kind of leads me. I managed a few ranches for a couple years, and then decided to really, I guess a little over a year ago, to start my own business, and that's WCD Agricultural Management. And really, ultimately, at that time, I started it because I really wanted to help individuals and serve. I've come from a background and with a mom who really taught me to be caring and serving other people. And that's really what agriculture is all about as well. And it's serving somebody else and doing all this hard work to serve an animal and take
Mhm.
care of it, or to feed other people. And you guys know, with all the boom, with all these housing and land development and things, people are moving like crazy out to the country. They're wanting 5, 10 acre, 50 acre, 1,000, you name it, farms and ranches. But they really don't understand our way of life. They don't understand how to take care of the land or how to take care of animals. And so I saw that there was a need, and I could be proactive by coming in and helping these people and teaching them how to take care of the land, how to take care of the animals. And ultimately, the reason for doing that is so that our land and animals can be around for generations to come. What I like to tell people is, without agriculture, we'd be dead and naked. And it's
When
so
you put those
true,
two together, it just takes all the fun out of it. Yeah.
right? Well, and we can laugh about it, and
But
it
it's
can come
true.
down to being pretty serious. And lots of the people or things that I like to say I know is second nature, or like the back of my hand, like I
Mhm.
do agriculture. The individuals who are moving out, having this vision or this dream of having chickens running around, or having a garden, or they want a few horses, or they want some goats, or they're like, oh, I want some cows. So they want this hodgepodge of different animals, or maybe they want to have more like crops or hay production, and they don't know how to do any of it. And so a lot of them are open to learning, but that's
Mhm.
where I can come in, and I can help them start from scratch and build that vision that they have for themselves. Or if they don't have a vision, help them understand what they can do with their land. And I'm not saying this has to be huge property. It can just be, 2 acres, or you can even have a little garden in your, acre that you have
Mhm.
at your house. So it can really go from urban farming to rural farming, in that sense that, you can do it and be healthy and grow food for yourself. You can learn to take care of the land. You can learn to take care of the animals in any of those areas. And so that's kind of where I've been the last, I guess, a little over a year. And I've
Yeah.
done a photography business and still do a lot of that. But that's kind of how I got started with my consulting business. And I can jump in if you want me to and share with the kind of the areas that I focus on in my business.
Absolutely. I think a couple questions too, just to follow up. Since you've been at this for a little while now, I guess, do you have a favorite story so far of somebody you've met, and or do you have somebody too that maybe you just like, good grief, I should have been here 2 years ago?
You know, that last comment, no, not as far as, good grief, I should have been here 2 years ago. But I think part of what I try to strive for is to prevent that from happening,
Mhm.
and to be able to be there and get people to understand that you need to plan first and work backwards. And that's by planning. And if you are able to kind of plan what you want, then you're going to be successful. quicker.
Mhm.
And I like to say that I can help bridge a gap. If you've got somebody helping you, or that you learn and are educated before you jump in and get animals or the property, then there's this, a bridge over this big, deep gap that somebody can fall into. And so I would say, though, that probably one of the neatest experiences I've had, there was a lady that lived down from where I lived, and she had some donkeys and loved them, cared about them, but she really, one of them was limping one day, and it just broke her heart. She's like, I don't know what to do. And she had a vet out, and he was kind of rough with him. And so I came over and helped in a calm manner, just kind of trim their hooves and kind of see if I could figure out. And it ended up being an abscess, and we treated it. And I gave her some suggestions on how to treat it. But just like how grateful she was, and she would, put it on Facebook or tell other people that, Emilee helped me with this. And she was like kind of a saving grace as far as that, and helped her out, with their land and kind of just what they needed to help their donkeys, and help, keep their pasture and their grass growing, as well as just make sure they're meeting the nutritional requirements of those
Yeah,
donkeys. And so I guess I've, been able to be thanked by most people that I meet, but that was just a neat experience.
absolutely. Yeah, that just somebody who's like really in need and like kind of like at their wits end almost and don't know what to do, or just hurting because they can't help something, and having somebody who can come along and shed some light on that one, and also plant the seeds for future success, I think, too, to help them be a bit more empowered and have a bit more, you know, um, I guess, knowledge and confidence in what they're doing with their animals too. That would be just a great feeling. Yeah.
It was, and you're right. And it's really planting that seed and helping them, because we all need to be educate ourselves
Mhm.
and, try to help ourselves. But I do feel like so many people are afraid to ask and reach out, and afraid to ask questions. And I've always kind of had the motto that no question is stupid,
Mhm.
and to always ask any questions. And that's really just for the animal's sake or the land's sake, instead of just trying something, ask somebody. It doesn't hurt to ask around or find the resources, because there are a lot of resources available in agriculture.
Yeah, most people are willing if they have the time, and you're respectful. If you ask a question, they'll probably answer, just because it feels good to share about that too. So, um, yeah. Speaking of that, let's dig a bit more into sort of what sort of, I guess, these services or features that you bring to the table when you get a chance to work with somebody. Let's break that down a bit.
So there's three components I really have to my WCD Agricultural Management. And those areas are, I have an online course called the Agricultural Management Journey course. I have consulting, and then I have a Grow Your Own Thriving Farms virtual interview series that I do. And the course is one that I created. There's really not anything out there like it right now, but you could say it's a 6-week course, or it's a self-paced course
Mhm.
that you can do. You just have to finish each module along as you go. But what I created it for was a way that you have interaction. I teach the different videos, they're short, and it's a way for you to learn. If you've bought land or a ranch or a home yet, it will apply to you. Or if you're looking to buy, it will teach you how to start at the beginning, building a relationship with a realtor,
Mhm.
asking questions about that will help meet your needs for the plan or the vision that you have. Whether you're wanting to hunt on it, or just have a place for your family to come and have Thanksgiving or Christmas, or if you're wanting to have crop production or hay. And so questions to ask, so you know exactly what you need on a place,
Mhm.
and kind of build that relationship with the realtor and what they can do for you. And then it goes into starting backwards, like I talked about
Mhm.
before,
Mhm.
building that plan, and you build the plan out. And then you have goal setting. So what short-term, long-term goals are, and you set them, some of those for yourself. And then it goes into talking about wildlife and animals, and some legal ideas to pay attention to as a landowner, talks about resources and how you can find the resources that you're needing as a landowner or an animal owner. And then it kind of goes into buying that property and how to kind of close out that and how you move forward with what you have. And I did that as a way to just to teach from somebody being experienced in it, somebody who's helped with ranch management, helped build people's operations. Anyway, that's why I created that section of it. And then the other is my consulting. And that's really where a lot of people enjoy it, because I can come out to somebody's operation, whether it's a small acreage or a large farm, and just kind of talk with them and consult and say, have them tell me what their vision is, tell me what they were thinking, whether a lot of them have already have property and they're just wanting to do something more with it. And so I can kind of just see what they have and go from there as far as saying, yeah, you can, what you want to happen can work, or no, your property and the fixtures and the buildings you have really aren't meant or made for that animal. And so I also have started to work with some realtors in that aspect too, is kind of going and looking at some property that they have before somebody buys it and just kind of giving them a sense of what they can do with that property.
That's
because a lot of times too, the realtors that are selling don't know much about agriculture. Not all of them, but some of them are that way. And part of the consulting is it's kind of a long-term thing. So it's initial consult, but I like to tell people it's something that we can work together for a good amount of time, and it may take a couple years. And the reason I say that is because a lot of times what people want to do, whether it's improve the grasses, or they do want to put a crop in, or they want to come over here and have a garden. Well, a lot of times when you go to, plant new crops or new grasses or landscape a certain area, it'll take a few years for that to develop to where you actually want it. And that's not, and we're not in control of that. That's
no, exactly.
That's the environment. That's, agriculture in general. And so it's definitely, an outlook. And a lot of times too, people talk about the tax exemption for whether it's wildlife or ag exemption for tax purposes for the land. And so we can discuss that and the difference between that and actual tax exemption, like you go to the store and have an ag exemption and not have to pay taxes on certain items. And then the third area is, which is, I want to say, I don't know if it's my favorite part, but it's something I'm truly, it's the way I can feel that I serve and give back. And that's my Grow Your Own Thriving Farm series. And this is actually kind of my third series that I did. I've done one last December of 2020, and then I did one in March of 2021. And what the format of it is I will learn what people are interested in learning about, or I already kind of have an idea of what topics that people should know about when they come into agriculture that they have no clue about. And so I will reach out to different ag leaders, businessmen and women. I'll reach out to farmers and ranchers, and I will interview them over a live video, kind of over Zoom, and we will discuss a topic in agriculture. And then I send that out by email on a weekly basis, and it's free for people to sign up for. They go to ownyouragfuture.com. It's a free resource, a way to learn. Each week there's a new speaker. Each week there's a new topic we talk about. And what I like to tell people, there's a handful of reasons why I started this. And the first is that it provides you with a learning experience. You get to actually learn hands-on about a different topic of something you should know in agriculture as a landowner, livestock owner. And the other thing is you get to build a connection with the person I interview. They normally give their contact information. And so you get to have that to reach out if you've got more questions. Then you also can build a connection with me and be able to kind of learn more about me and know that you can reach out to me. And then the other reason is that I get to highlight, which is maybe the most special part to me, is I get to highlight those farmers and ranchers and the individuals who may not be highlighted
Mhm.
ever or on a daily basis, and show what they do for our industry. Because so many people, what they don't understand is we have so many people in ag industry, and they all make a difference. And if they've ever been like me, who feels like I'm one small person in this huge industry, and they're like, how can I make an impact? Well, I feel like this series that I do is how I can make an impact and how I can help give back, because there's so many people who've given to me over the years and who have helped me grow. And I learn every day. And there's people still in my life who teach me about stuff in agriculture or stuff that I didn't know, because we're always learning.
Yeah, better be. Yeah, especially in ag. Yeah.
Yes. But that's the fun and that's the journey of it. And so that's kind of overview of why I created that series. And so I just want people to know that it's a free resource to them. I'm always looking for sponsorships for it so that I can grow it into something that's it's bigger than it is now. And I like to keep the interviews short, so they're like
Mhm.
30 to 45 minutes, so you can watch them from your phone wherever you are, from your computer at home. And it just brings, and they're fun,
Yeah.
and they're uplifting, and they're just, some people say some podcasts can be kind of melatonin boring, and I don't like mine to be
No.
that way. And so try to make them fun. And anyway, just again, I'll put that out there. If people are interested, go to ownyouragfuture.com and you can sign up right there, and it's free. And I am so grateful too for all the people, and thankful for the people who've already been on my series. And I guess I should plug a little bit about who has been or what we've
I
talked
was just
about.
going to ask you, like, maybe how many people have been on, some of the folks, and we'll also put links to all your sites and everything in the description below when this goes out on the YouTube and the Facebook and the Spotify and everywhere else in the world too, on the video and the audio version. So we'll hope everybody make sure they get there. And of course, I'm going to ask you too, like WCD Ag Management. What's WCD stand for?
Western Cowgirl Design.
Nice.
That
was it was in the head. Yeah.
That's actually my Western Cowgirl Design photography is the photography business I started. And so underneath my business, I just kept the photography and then the agricultural management with that. And so that's where that comes from.
Perfect. Yeah. That's perfect. I was thinking, like, what would Christian do? No, I was like, oh, Western Cowgirl. That's got to be what it was, as I was asking it out loud. Yeah. So I always like the backstory if it was, yeah. So that's awesome. But yeah, tell us a bit about some of the folks that have been on there, some of the conversations, any stories that have come from that, from people getting connected or inspired, or also curious too, the people that you were able to drag off the tractor or off a horse long enough to come give one of those presentations, how they feel after as well. I'd be curious on some of that too. So there's like 90 questions, so dive in and have fun. Yeah.
I will say, it can be a struggle at times to get people to off a tractor or to come in and give me the information I asked for before we come on the interview. But what I have found is those who are truly passionate and they see the reason I'm doing this, it's actually been pretty easy for them to get me the information that I need, and to actually, if I can, either they have a time that works or I give them a date and a time and they make it work in their schedule.
Yeah.
And I truly, that's why I thanked them earlier, is because there are some people that that it has been hard to get a hold of them. And I understand people in agriculture are busy, but I'm like, that kind of is a telltale sign that if, they maybe aren't just fit right for the series, or they aren't as passionate about it, because ultimately service is what is behind, the series. And that's what I drive home for people. But to go to talking about some of the people I've had on, we've talked about, I guess, some of the topics we've talked about. The agriculture ownership success, let me back up a little bit, was my first 2 series that I did last December and in March, and there's about 29 different talks that we had and topics that we talked about. And part of those were business planning, mindset, and goal setting. And we talked about goats, talked about cattle, talked about resources and how to find resources in agriculture, whether that's through extension or taking classes or working with a consultant. And we also talked about ag exemption and kind of the difference between that. I had a lady come on and talk who does that all the time for people who have ranches and farms. We talked about, trying to go back, talked about ag education and the importance of that, and talk with a few of the professors that I knew from A&M, and they just discussed some of their resources and free resources that they have done through research and brought for people. And then on this series, I've had a gal who talked about her family's dairy farm and just dairy farming in general, but she's out of Tennessee and they've been in production for 92 years and talked about, the importance of advocating for agriculture. We talked about, we'll have actually this coming Monday on the series, a lawyer who has dealt with ag law and property and just talking about things that you could do to avoid having to have a lawyer when you're purchasing property, or you've already owned it and you have animals, and just to help you protect yourself and your assets. We've had a couple gals that have come on to talk about gardening and kind of mean a gardening 101, different types of gardening that you can do in the Master Gardener program, because right now it's really a very big and popular thing for people to garden or want to raise their own food, which is super exciting. I think that's about the only great thing that came out of COVID.
Absolutely. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
The need, or I should say, maybe not the need, but the final gloss that came off the eyes that, I should know where my food comes from. I should know how to provide, eggs or protein for my family or vegetables. And so that's why I had some of these gals who, one of them started a community garden in the town not far from me. And so it was neat to talk with her how she got that started and the work behind that. And then I actually went and kind of videoed her and interviewed her again, actually at the community garden. So that was neat to see the background of that and what her mission was and why she did that. We've had another gal who has 5 acres in Minnesota, and she has chickens. I think they were planning on getting some sheep or goats, but they've got apple trees and they grow a huge garden. And so I was able to talk with her just kind of what she has done with her 5 acres and how she utilizes with what she has. And so that was neat to get into that. Let's see, we've had somebody come on and talk about landscaping. Actually, that's a Ford. He'll be here in a few weeks, talk about how to landscape and how to take care of your yard around your house or kind of leading into the pasture, and different herbicides and pesticides and basics of those, and what to use, a few that are commonly used in yards or in pastures. Oh, there's such a long list. I've had, I guess, this series, we've had, I think 15 to 18 already. I started this one back in August. And so it's been fun. Oh, and I've also came on and taught a few of those. And one of those was on basically what a farm and ranch looks like. What I mean by that is what's the difference between a farm and a ranch? A lot of people don't understand those differences.
Yeah.
There really aren't much of a difference. It's kind of just on the size or kind of what you do, but different, I guess, kind of comparing the difference between those two and just talking about what things that you should need when you have a farm or ranch. And that's looking at electricity and water and looking at fencing and looking at troughs and looking at different barn structures or places, does it have grass, or the environment, looking at, the landscape of it. If there's a lot of rocks or you have a lot of native grasses or improved grasses, and that's kind of area that I talked on. So as you can see, there's a ton of different, topics that we've kind of hit on, and I'm excited to continue that and bring a lot more information out there.
Well, I think it just speaks to the complexity of agriculture in general. When you talk about even somebody who's been maybe on the ground for a long time, there's just so many components that go into making that successful every day. And then you hit on that with, you've got the law, you've got taking care of the grass, taking care of the animals, taking care of the different types of animals, putting your plan together, your taxes, your all these things that go into like, hey, congratulations, you now have some dirt and things living on it. This is a whole different world, and like not only planning for like today, but like, a lot of plans, they're 3-5 years down the road before you realize if you made the best choice or not, and how to get that fixed back again. So I think that speaks so well to like, it's just not an easy thing. It's all living in different circles and patterns, and you're coming in and trying to jump in the middle of that circle as a new owner, maybe a new owner or existing owner, and just figure out where things are going and how you're supposed to get it there. So I think it's a tremendous service to help bring in all those resources together, because as you said earlier, like a lot of people just don't want to ask, or afraid to ask, feel intimidated to ask. So if there's a thing just there, they can just go and listen and look, and get them like kind of like to the water trough, so to speak. I think it probably gives them some more confidence to ask more questions and realize like, oh, I'm not the only person that probably doesn't know exactly everything that's going on at all times.
Well, and I will say to that I rather people ask questions, because then you can do it properly. Because what goes through my head when you say that is really, it's ultimately, let's take care of the soil and not overgraze it or tear it up.
Mm-hmm.
And let's take care of the animals so that they have the proper minerals and vitamins they need, and water and nutrition. And if you don't know what that takes, well, come with like they're your kids. Like
Mm-hmm.
this land is how you would take care of a human child, and ask those questions. Because as a new mom or a new dad,
Mm-hmm.
well, what do? You get a lot of parenting advice. It's a lot of like what it is
Yeah.
with animals or the land, and it shouldn't be a scary thing. And all what you just said about the hard work and the years to get developed, that shouldn't be scary. Like a lot of people in their mind, they're gonna go, oh my gosh, what? 3-5 years? You what? And it's really, we laugh, and I laugh at that too, because there's sometimes I can be really impatient, and I'm like, I want this now. But knowing and growing up in this industry, I know that's not always the case.
Yeah.
But when you get to that 3-5 years down the road, and by the way, time flies so fast.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. And when you get down to that road, you're going to look back, and sometimes you probably won't even remember everything you had to do to get there. But you're going to smile and go, oh my gosh, like this is what I did.
Mm-hmm.
This is what I created. This is what I loved and like tended to. And I will tell you, there's nothing more beautiful in the world than that feeling and that sense of pride and ownership in what you did, and then what you learned along the way.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's setting that goal and then working towards it and adapting and figuring out right, wrong, and different. I would say Mother Nature's parents weren't married, so that stuff always comes at you at different angles. And so then like, I still made it here. Like that has to be, it's so rewarding to be able to look back. You're like, oh, and now my next 3 or next 5 or next 10, once you get through that initial planning phase and you hit those first few goals, then I think for me anyways, you almost get like addicted to the next goal of just making it better, I think.
Well, that and something too, times and adapt with what's going on, and your goals will change. And that's okay. And that's part of it. When I help people sit down and we talk about goals, because I've always been a big goal setter, I could sit here and tell you lots of these plans, especially the last 7 months, that I wanted to happen. Well,
Guess
guess
what?
what? It didn't happen, and I had to roll with it. And sometimes what I had a goal and plan to do, well, I just had to do it the spur of the moment.
Mhm.
Not that I didn't take the steps towards a plan that I had, but the good Lord above had a different plan, and
Yeah.
so I had to go with it. But I will say though, I can look back and I could think of, I kind of started talking about, growing up sleeping behind the tractor seat, or growing up
Mhm.
sitting in the window of the combine. Those are such cherished memories. And if I think back of how hard, my family worked, and how hard the farmers and ranchers and dairy farmers, and I mean, you name it, if you produce a product, I say you're a farmer. If you're on the land or taking care of animals, you're a farmer or a rancher. But the ethics and the knowledge and the skills and the things, the hands-on things that you do, that's what makes all that hard work that you talked about. That's what makes those long hours worth it.
Oh,
And
yeah. It's one of my favorite sayings is, we work 80 hours a week so we don't have to work 40. And it's true, like that, there's a reason behind all that chaos, because it's for what it comes out at the end and what you get to do. And it's hard to describe. So the more people you can get involved in touching that and feeling that and understanding it, I think the better everyone is.
one example that I like to give people is, there's nothing better than when you pull a calf out and you are trying to keep it alive, and get it breathing, and you get it wiped down or wiped off, and then get it with its mom, and watching it stand up and take its first, drink of milk, or it's holding the brand new baby lamb, or it's seeing those cute little chicks that are hatched and running around with
Yeah.
their mom. Compare that to that first moment that mom or dad held their new baby, or the first time that you have your first house, whether it's by yourself or with a significant other, and they carry you across the threshold, or you walk through the door. Those feelings, like that's how I can compare it, to agriculture,
Mhm.
and understanding why we do, those who are in agriculture, why we do what we do. And there's a reason for it. And some of them are selfish, but honestly, most of them are not.
Yeah.
And it's a full circle, because everything that we do, an individual in agriculture, or all that those in agriculture do, it's a full circle that can relate to every other industry in the world. And everything that we have, it all connects. And if you ask questions, it can all come back, to agriculture. And
Oh, yeah.
so it's, I don't know if that makes sense on describing how that feeling can be.
It absolutely does. And you get to do that every time a new calf hits the ground, or a lamb, or whatever, a kid. So I think it's just that extra connection in that. And you get to watch that grow up. And, so then all those memories because yours. And then next year you see the offspring, and then you're like, oh man, yeah, that's so-and-so's calf. I recognize that, the coloring on the face or the tag or whatever. Like, I know where that calf came from. Or its crops, etc. And seeing a field that was maybe beat up and didn't have grass when you first got there, and then you've done some reseeding and did some different strategies, and now it's a nice looking field, or you're growing, put it in apples, or who knows what you want to do with your land. I think that's the cool part too, is like there's a lot of options. And I think when people look at it too, for maybe a more strictly ROI per acre point of view, we talk about that person with the 5 acres, and it sounds like she's really maximizing what she's getting out of that. And that's an interesting way to look at it too, is getting the most out of what you put in, and not being afraid to change it up, and maybe switch to something a little bit different or more diverse, or several things at once. Again, I think that's for anybody that's just stepping on a piece of dirt or been there for 50 years. It's always worth looking at it a little bit different, I think.
Well, and that's true. Like, a lot of people who are not part of our industry or have a negative light, and we're always changing. We want to keep what we have. We want to keep that land in production agriculture, because that's important to us. It's important to our future generations. And honestly, it's important for us to be able to continue doing what we're doing to help the rest of the world and their generation. And that's how we can help, is by keeping what we have in production agriculture. But it's the, you know, just that anyway, it's that feeling, and it's the purpose behind it that really drives us to keep, doing that. And to relate a little bit more, it may not be cattle, it may not be goats, it could be a horse. And I know there's a ton of people who ride English or Western, in that feeling that they have from training that horse and then seeing the results, whether they're riding or they're on the ground, that feeling of, oh my gosh, they got it. And they're standing there licking their lips at you, or it's the connection in the dirt. Like a lot of people, when I was speaking to the ladies on my series, they're talking about like the connection with just sticking your hand in that nice, cool, I mean, I can feel it now.
I can feel it right now. Totally feel it right now. Yeah.
And just the rush that comes over you, whether that's a cool sensation or it's just that breathing, standing there, closing your eyes and just breathe in the fresh air of the country, with your hand in the dirt. Like there's stuff that goes on up there in your brain, and just a common effect that comes over that, in a time to just relax. Because I can tell you that there's nothing better. My happy place is jumping on a 4-legged animal and going riding, and nothing else matters in the world, and I can just be at peace. And so those may be some other good examples of how people can connect and understand, what we do.
Oh yeah, I think going back to some of the effects of the pandemic, or whatever you want to call it, and just the realization I think that some people had, that it's not an infinite supply of food. It's not made in the back of the grocery store. Like, it comes from somewhere else. So I think they've gained a bit more of appreciation of what farmers and ranchers do, but also I think taking it upon themselves, a lot of them, to try to grow some of their own things. And I think they get a greater appreciation for life, what it takes to grow something. But I think ultimately, more importantly, that deep satisfaction of like, I planted a little seed and I watched it grow and I watered it and then I transplanted it and then I put it in my garden and then it grew and then I got zucchini or potatoes or whatever. They're like, I did that. Like, we're eating food that I made. And so I think that empowers them, but it also, I think, just tremendous deeper appreciation for agriculture in general. I think just from that experience, I mean, like, wow, there's people that do this like on a grand scale, like every day. This is all they do. I think it ties that together even more. And I think now more than ever, I think we need agriculture and the rest of the population in the world tied together even more. And that's one thing that really inspired me from what you're doing to really help bring those two worlds together. That's certainly one of the high points of our first conversation, was just that fact of bringing those two worlds and letting them see each other. I think that's critical.
Well, and it's all about education. Really, it is. And if you boil it down, and it's educating them, and a lot of people go, oh, education. And they shouldn't think about it that way, but it's educating the people coming into agriculture or just coming into the country and our way of life, and helping them to understand why we love what we do, why you should be cautious of a tractor driving down the gravel road, why you should slow down on a gravel road or a backcountry road and pay attention to these small driveways or cattle guards and animals that are there. I mean, it's all about teaching them how to use the skills a lot of them already possess. A lot of them are already capable, and they're smart and they're talented, and they can bring what they have and what they've learned from, whether it's living in the city, or maybe they grew up on a farm or a ranch, or their grandparents had a farm or a ranch, so they went out, or maybe they did grow up but then they were removed from it and are wanting to come back. It's just showing them what they're capable of, and that they can be part of our industry and what we love, but respect our way of life, respect what we already have here, because we
Yeah.
fought through the nail to keep it that way. And without it, go back again, without it, we wouldn't have anything. We wouldn't be alive, and we wouldn't have a lot of the opportunities that a lot of people take for granted today.
Yeah, absolutely. The fact that we spend, what is it? I think 9% of our annual income goes towards food, where other parts of the world is over 40%. I think that's a realization of just like the great job that everybody in ag does so that everybody else can do other things, and have that freedom to move back to the country. That's awesome. So, but remember, it was there first, as one of the gentle ways to put that. But I think there's a lot of that continual learning on both sides, I think, too, is extremely important.
Agreed with that. And the more that we can advocate for agriculture and just keeping land in production and helping people, to understand, because honestly, right now, with the way that our world is, family farms are under attack.
Mm-hmm.
Farming in general is under attack. And I'm here to tell you right now, from being somebody in this industry and grown up in it, there is no way that all the food and the different crops and products that we make in agriculture, you will not be able to make them in a greenhouse. You will not be able to synthetically make them. And for all the people who are health nuts out there, you are not going to find all the healthy things that you need, that are, a lot of them will end up being synthetically made.
Mm-hmm.
You can't find those health things without cattle, without all the other livestock, without chickens, without the crops that are actually made, out on farms and ranches, because those are natural. Like you said, that's what's always been here. The land has always been here. That's what the good Lord above created.
Made it for. Yeah, it's if you're concerned about global warming, carbon, etc., there's no better thing to keep that in check and go in the right direction than highly productive farm ground with growing crops. Like, that is the major way to keep carbon where it needs to be, back in the soil. So, that's square number one if you want to talk about that realm. So I think that's where some people are realizing that even more and more every day, and hopefully that continues.
Well, and it boils down to, in that aspect, is understanding the cycle of how it all works together.
Precisely.
The life cycle, I should say, of the plants and of the soil, and the life cycle of an animal and what they do, the life cycle of just kind of the air and how things move.
Everything's all connected. Yeah. And how it works and how long it takes and what does what, I think. Yeah. And we're all still just discovering all that every day. We're learning more and more about just all the activity that goes on in the soil. And we're understanding it deeper, I guess, the importance of all the activity. We've known about the activity for quite some time, but just how it all plays together. So yeah, it's we're always all still learning, or hopefully anyways. If you're not, you're going in the wrong direction.
Well, and most of us are learning in that aspect to be able to do the best that we can and to take care of what we have the best that we can. And part of the with this attack with agriculture just basically goes down to is that, we overuse things, or we, poorly mistreat animals, or, we eat animals. Well, a lot of those people are Christians or believe in the Bible, and the Lord gave us those things for, consumption. And on the flip side is, there's nobody in agriculture that I know or have ever met who are doing what they are doing to be mean to animals or be mean to the earth,
cause harm to anything. Yeah.
Because the same reason these people want to make money, well, guess what? We want to make money too, because money, we have to survive. Without money,
it is a necessary evil still. So yeah.
And so if we didn't take care of what we had, well, guess what? We'd be without money.
Quickly. Yeah. Without anything. Yeah. It's I want to rewind just a bit too. I want to talk about your online courses just a little bit more and how you develop those. Is there, are those free as well, or is there a cost? And let's delve into those just a bit more too, for folks that might be curious on how to work through those.
So right now I just have the main course, the Agricultural Management Journey course, and it is online. It is a paid course. you can go to WCDAgmanagement.com. That's my website. There's different tabs, an about tab and a learning tab. Pretty sure it's under the learning tab. You can find, actually go back and also purchase the replays of my Agriculture Ownership Success Series 1 and 2 that I did in December and March. And those are on there. And then you can purchase through my website, or you can also reach out to me by email, which is info@WCDAgmanagement.com. That's my email. So they can reach out if they've got questions, or is this the right fit for me? Like, this is where I'm at. Would this really help?
Awesome.
My answer to that's probably going to be yes, but I'm open to emails or, calling me, but that course, you can find it. And so basically how that works is you can get on, it's cheaper than going back to college. It's real life experience. I'm going to be there to kind of walk you through a lot of what's on there. You're going to have worksheets that you do. So a lot of these classes that you take, you don't walk away with actual stuff that you can hold in your hand that you've done. And that was the biggest push behind my course, is that you walk away with something in your hand that you can do, and that you can have a guideline and move forward with it. And so that course, again, you can find it on my website, WCDAgmanagement.com. Reach out to me about that. And it's self-paced with that too. And I say it's a 6-week course because there's about 6 to 7 lessons in each of those modules, and it goes over different topics. And on my website, you should be able to see the kind of the names of the different modules, and then some of the lessons that you'll learn through that course. And so does that answer your question?
Yeah, that's perfect. I wanted to get a bit more for folks to know what to dig into, where to go to find that for sure, and just get that extra resource out there for them. I think that's extremely impressive, for one, just to be able to put that together. So kudos to you on that. That's a very impressive. And I think too that they get that tangible thing at the end as they work through these things. I think that's also extremely very impressive, and I think inspiring. And it should be something everybody gets a chance to go check out.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And it's a way too that when you do purchase it, you can have a login. You'll get a login with your email and be able to log in yourself and go through that course at your own pace and when you need to, and then reach out when you've got questions. And so it's something you can do from anywhere. You don't. And then you're talking about other educational stuff. A lot of times, if you follow me on Facebook at WCD Ag Management, I put a ton of short video clips on there about, who knows? Like, I did a video the other day about trimming goat hooves because I have goats. And it was like 5 minutes. And this is what you do. This is what you should look for. These are the tools you use. This is what I do. And this is what you can do. I do videos, some horse training videos, or you name it. Sometimes when I'm actually doing something, like when I was mowing the grass, I pulled out somebody's dirty lawnmower, and I'm like, well, this is what you should check when you pull a lawnmower out before you go mow. Check the tires, the oil, you name it. I went through it on the video, and then it was really dirty, and I'm like, this is what you should not do, is not blow the deck off and leave it like this. And so then I did an after video of, this is what it looks like when you give it a bath, and
There's a happy mower. Yeah.
Yes. And if you put it away like this, then when you get it out, guess what? You don't have to clean it.
It's still happy. Yeah.
Right. And so there's just different video clips that I'll put on there. I've put some clips from my series on there because it's free. The series is free, but then you can only watch it, some of those interviews, so many days during the week. And then they go into my Ag Club monthly membership, where people can pay to get access to all those replays, plus a lot of other bonus material and videos and stuff that I share. But the Facebook page will have a lot of those videos. I'll share, ag information that's going on in the industry. I'll actually kind of promote some of my speakers and what they do, and how, you can reach out to them. Or like for this week, I had a realtor that we talked to. And so there's different questions that she gets asked, and so she answers those questions on some
Oh, great.
infographic on the
Yeah.
Facebook page, as well as I'll do workshops. So like I have a workshop that I'll start, people can sign up for, called I Just Bought a Ranch, Now What? And I'm going to have that here in December on the 18th.
Oh, wow.
And
Okay, perfect.
so I'll do different workshops like that, and you can find that information on Facebook. And you can also follow me on Instagram at Western Cowgirl Design. And you'll see a lot of times I try to educate about agriculture and through my photography. So I use what's real that I take of the land or different animals or sunsets, and kind of teach along with that photo some tip for something in agriculture.
You draw them in with a nice picture, and then they're like, oh, great, I end up learning something too. Yeah. So
yes. So there's lots of ways that I try to just reach different areas. I actually have a few interns this fall and in the spring for my business, and they've been awesome at hitting this current generation. I know I'm not that old, but this generation just on TikTok or Instagram Reels. And so they've been making some fun videos just to put out
stuff
there
going on,
to teach about ag. And that's something that's really kind of hit home too for people, as a lot of people like those quick short videos. And so that's part of my method of education as well.
That's outstanding. Well, Emilee, can you believe it's already been an hour?
No,
I didn't either. Like, holy, my alarm was going off. I'm like, holy buckets, that's amazing. So I think we'll probably start to wrap up this episode for now, but I'd definitely like to have you back on in 4, 5, 6 months to see how the winter went in the spring, and hear about the success of some of the interns and some more of your programs, and if you got anything new and exciting going on. But again, we'll have all your links down below, but tell us your website one more time if you don't mind.
Yeah, you can find me at WCDAgmanagement.com. You can find me on Facebook at WCD Ag Management, and you can find me on Instagram at Western Cowgirl Design. And if you also look up on Facebook, Western Cowgirl Design, one word, you can, I have another Facebook page with different photos and teaching a little bit about ag, but mainly geared towards the photography.
Outstanding. I can't tell you how great it's been a chance to get to see you, to talk some more about what you're doing for ag and all the help you're bringing these two communities together. We'll be looking forward to the next one for sure, but I can't thank you enough. You have any final words to say to the gang before we sign off for the night?
Definitely. Thank you for this opportunity. I really appreciate it. And ultimately is, first, go check out my Grow Your Own Thriving Farm series and sign up for that at ownyouragfuture.com, because it is free and it's really my baby and something that I spend a lot of my time and money on just to help you to make a difference. And it really all comes from my heart, and trying not to keep the tears down, because it is passionate.
I get you. Yeah. Something that you have a lot of passion for. It's beautiful.
And so basically take that opportunity and just don't be fearful. That's the biggest thing, is anybody who's listening and who has a dream or something that they want to do, is believe in yourself and teach yourself and take the time to invest in you, because nobody else is going to. And you're the only one who's going to be able to make your dream or something that you're passionate about actually happen. Like I like to say, it's only a dream until you actually take action steps and turn that dream into a goal, and that goal becomes an accomplished goal. Then that becomes reality. So anyway, thank you again so much for being able to have me on.
It's awesome. We can't wait to spread the word, and can't wait to have you back on too.
Thank you. I'm excited. We'll see you in the next 5 or 6 months.
That sounds perfect. All right, kids. We'll talk to you all soon.